All right. Well, hello, everyone. My name is Bryce, as Megan introduced me. So, green cop, does anyone know what that means? What about Duck Daddy?
I know Duck Dynasty.
Duck Dynasty? Okay, that's close. So, green cop, that title came here at Guilford. I graduated in 2010 and promptly moved back to be the green cop, which essentially meant going around and making sure everyone was doing their job with sustainability and energy conservation. So when I was here, I was, all around school. I was trying to talk to everyone, trying to change the culture here at Guilford. People were still just having a trash bin and throwing all their recycles in there, and I was trying to change that. I just didn't. It wasn't working for me to fulfill, everything that I needed in a career, I guess, or a job or a lifestyle. So that's when I headed back to California, and that's where I'm actually from, is Palo Alto, near the San Francisco Bay Area, if anyone knows that. I'm going to stand. This chair is making me feel awkward. And so, it was really important for me to leave Guilford because I was settling in. I was becoming comfortable. I was, okay with my job. I was doing some good, but I didn't really feel passionate about it anymore. And if I stayed here, I would have just, kind of set into that lull. I wouldn't have performed. I wouldn't have inspired anyone else, and I would have kind of began to lead that dull life, that I didn't want to lead. So I left Guilford. I moved back to California, and I worked for this startup called Village Power. They did crowdfunding and solar, and it was like the coolest thing. I was like, oh, this is so much fun. This is great. But after a few months, after sitting at a computer and desk all day, I realized that that's not where I wanted to be. And I think it's really important to always listen to that little voice that says, oh, this isn't good. I don't want to do this. Because if you ignore that voice, it'll become a habit, and you won't realize that you're not in a place where you want to be because you're used to not listening to yourself, and you're used to kind of compromising and not fulfilling your dreams. So there was that happened a year ago. I quit Village Power exactly a year ago, and I went to Mexico for a month. And I just said, what, screw it. I'm going to Mexico. I'm going to do my whole. Have you ever seen Cocktail with Tom Cruise? Anyone seen that movie? I was fulfilling my cocktail dreams down there, just kind of hanging out, on the beach. But soon I realized that I wasn't doing any good. I wasn't, improving anyone's life. I wasn't really improving mine anymore. And that's when I kind of decided that I needed to find a direction, something that really held true to myself, my ideals, and where I wanted to be in life. I started hunting around for land in North Carolina because I'd been here, for almost 7 years and really enjoyed the state. And I found a little pocket of land down near Seagrove, which is about an hour south of here. And Seagrove is the pottery capital of, some say, the nation. There's very many potters down there. If you ever want some pottery, go down to Seagrove. And so I found this land, and it was about 10 acres. I pretty much sold everything I had to buy it. And there was a little house on it, a couple of trailers, which is weird. There's like 5 trailers on the property. And I originally went out there and I said, okay, well, what have I been wanting to do my whole life? And what was that? What is that goal? And for me, back in college, I realized I was really into sustainability. I really wanted to lead the most sustainable lifestyle. I wanted to have the least impact on the world and not further damage, this beautiful planet that we live on. And back in college, that kind of meant, doing it like this, doing it with the coat, doing it with the tie, kind of trying to work the system. But I realized that wasn't for me. So when I got this 10 acres, I was like, well, I'm going to homestead. I'm going to, live off the land and grow mushrooms and cut down little, trees and use that for my fire and to keep warm. But soon I realized you have to pay property taxes and gas and insurance. And so that homesteading dream was not, I wouldn't say it was extinguished, but I realized I needed to be kind of part of the world. I needed to be part of society instead of just, outcasting myself on this little piece of land. So I'm very into permaculture. Does anyone know what that means, that term? Yeah, permaculture. So can you tell me? I still don't know what it means. So if you
I know that it means really using the ecosystem, the natural environment, making sure you're using native environment to create a whole livable system.
Exactly. So did everyone here using the working with the land rather than against it, and developing systems that kind of take care of each other. And so I'm a really big believer in that because that's how the world has gone on for so long, and here us humans are trying to change all that with these systems that are not cyclical. And so what I realized when I looked at this piece of land is all wooded. Okay, it's 10 acres of woods. And I was like, well, I can't farm. I can't, nothing's going to grow in the shade except for ginger and some other cool crops. So what can I do? I was like, well, ducks like the shade, ducks like forests, mushrooms like the shade, and I can use the trees for mushrooms. So I developed this idea where you have a mushroom farm and a duck farm, and what pests would normally eat the mushrooms, like slugs and other bugs, the ducks like to eat. So you have this very, very cool, I forget the word for it now, it's a symbiotic relationship. There you go. I can use a cell phone. So that's what I decided to do, is create this farm that was very, based in permaculture and very symbiotic in nature and using the land in a healthy way and regenerating it instead of just clear cutting it and planting a bunch of corn, which happens a lot in that area. So that's kind of my story, is from green cop to duck daddy. That's what I did, but I know I said something about lateral movement in my little description, and for me that was understanding that life is not always about going forward. And it's hard to not do that because that's what we see in our society, that's what we see in our culture. It's always about stepping up. It's always about making more money. It's always about getting a bigger house. And for me, even if I wanted to follow that, I probably couldn't have because I just wasn't happy. And I had to move laterally. I had to look at different paths, and I had to shift over instead of always moving forward. I think that's really important in our society today, is to understand that sometimes you just have to step to the side, and then in order to move forward. You just can't go down that path any longer. And that happened with me at Guilford. That happened with me at the startup in California. And I finally feel like I'm moving forward with Duck Daddy Ranch. I have about 300 ducks, by the way, and I'm doing duck meat, duck eggs, and the mushrooms is going to take a while for that to work in place. But I think Guilford, was very instrumental in this learning of lateral movement and experiential learning because I had the opportunity to do so many different things. I know it's so cliche, like, oh, liberal arts college, do this, do that. And I actually did. I was a DJ on the radio station. I got kicked off for playing Frank Sinatra and B.B. King. I helped run the veggie co-op, so I distributed vegetables into boxes and sold them to students and faculty and staff, on a volunteer basis. I played rugby. I was the treasurer of the rugby team and the vice president and all that kind of stuff. So I did really get involved, and what that allowed me to do is understand what I liked and what I didn't. And that's really important today because there's so much out there, and we live in such a complex society. There's a million different jobs. And if you just get on one path and you don't look at the rest, it's easy to miss something and to realize that, I actually like doing accounting, or I actually like, talking to people and working with others. So, Guilford is a place that allowed me to develop that, I would call it a skill set of kind of discerning what you like and what you don't. Because when I realized I didn't like something, I moved and I jumped. And I didn't stay in there, and I didn't let that take over me, and I controlled it, and therefore control my life. So yeah, that's kind of what I do. I still cook over fire, so I'm still trying to homestead. I'm trying to work with the land out there and replace the. One more minute? Okay. Still trying to replace the industrial, commercial poultry operation because that's how you get your chicken. That's how you get all your food. Is a lot of it from a factory, all the meat, and I'm trying to change that. So my birds, free range, and they live in the forest, and it's much healthier for you because it develops a healthier, like omega fatty acid ratio or something like that. It's kind of technical, but. The bird is healthier, it's healthier for you, and it just looks better. It's very, it's very farm pristine. You see they're splashing in the water and they love it, and I love it too, and it's healthier for everyone. So, yeah, that's all the Duck Daddy has to say for today, I guess.